Hi guys, I'm Shmi, and today we're going to be taking a look at the TechArt Porsche Cayman 718. I've not driven a 718 before, but this car is particularly interesting because there may or may not be a future GT4 or GT4 RS based on the 718. But this has dialed it up quite a notch. It takes that 2.5 litre turbo 4-cylinder, takes power from 350 horsepower to 400, torque from 430 to 480. That means this can do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in under 4 seconds. It's 3.9 seconds compared to the Series 4.2. So I'm going to have a look around the car, show you the aerodynamic changes, the modifications, talk about it as a 718 in general, then take the car out for a little test drive. But first, let's check it out.
Creep while you and me repeat. This bittersweet heat is suffocating. I'm waiting and always hesitating. Kryptonite desires set my heart afire. Heart on fire. Set my heart afire.
At first glance, you could even be fooled into thinking that what you're looking at is a GT4, but in fact, TechArt created some of the aerodynamic parts, like the rear spoiler, for their 981 Cayman before the GT4 was even launched. But let's take a look around at some of the exterior modifications and changes, talk a bit about the power kit and how you get that upgrade before taking it for a drive, then coming back and checking out the interior where some pretty heavy modification has been undergone too. So visually, on that front, as we look around, you can see the look is enhanced. It's a little bit more sporty, more aggressive. That comes through this new lower front bumper part, new splitter towards the front, this vent that's installed just beneath the bonnet line, underneath the TechArt logo that's added to the front of the bonnet. Of course, the car, if you didn't already know, has this new turbo 4-cylinder engine instead of the naturally aspirated 6-cylinder engine of the previous generation. It's a mid-engine car, rear-wheel drive, this one fitted with the PDK gearbox. Coming around the side, you've got TechArt's 21-inch wheels, very large. The car is lowered 30mm, so it sits sort of more aggressively, more stance to it as it's down towards the ground. A number of the parts are series, for example, the side skirts and the sort of outer line of this side pod, but that yellow sort of stripe is an additional component part that's installed in the middle to give it a little bit of a sort of more enhanced look on that front. Coming round towards the rear, like I mentioned before, TechArt's own spoiler that's fixed. Obviously the normal raising wing is disabled. You have this fixed wing in place, a design they created before. And then heading down towards the back, you've got a new diffuser, body painted. All of the sort of black parts on the car, like the piece here, have been lacquered rather than left in their normal sort of plastic finish. And then you've got the carbon-tipped exhaust system. The performance exhaust on here does sound very impressive for the type of engine that is in the car. You can already see here though, the interior has quite a trim to it. Lots of carbon and custom finishing. I'll give you a quick glance of that now, but we'll come back later on to have a full look around all of the inside. But one of the very trick things with the power kit is how it's controlled through the Porsche mode selector. So you have normal, sport, sport plus, and individual, but their power increase comes when you're in sport, sport plus modes and reverts to series when you're in normal. So I'll be able to test the difference back to back of the car and see what it's all about. So like I said, we'll come back, check out the interior in a moment, but for now, the thing looks the part. It hopefully will sound the part as well when we get it out there and listen to the exhaust system. But what's it going to be like to drive? Let's go and find out. Color-coded key, of course. Unlock it. Let's jump in. Now, a lot of this is very familiar to me, of course, from my Cayman GT4, but equally, quite a few things are new. So, for example, the entertainment system is new, and we'll click through some of that later, and obviously, this is a PDK rather than the manual. But let's start it up, and to do so, you take the key, pop it in here, give it a turn, and we'll hear how the car sounds. So that's into life in the normal mode, and this is where it's quite interesting. Let's put it in sport. hear that difference quite fundamentally. The valve controlled exhaust system obviously doing its thing, and because of the way their guaranteed upgrade package is done for the power, it means you're warranted to 75,000 euros worth of guarantee on the power kit, but it connects to the car's official sort of sensors and obviously knows exactly what's going on, and you can control it that simply to get a little bit more power out of the car. So naturally it sits at a slightly higher idle as well. You may have spotted that, and that is of course to give it a more sporty pull away and driving experience when you're on the move too. But we'll come back, check all of this out shortly. For now, let's head out on the road and see what it's about. Away we go then, and I've immediately got it in sport mode to enjoy the drive as much as possible. I think probably the first thing that is genuinely surprising me is how good it does sound. I think I was expecting to be super critical just because of what the normal 718 is like, and I've not driven it personally, so this is my first 718 experience. So I was expecting, you know, to be left a little bit disappointed on that front, but listen to it. You've got lots of burbles and crackles when you drop down a gear on the overrun. You've got a nice snap when you get up to the top as well. Didn't get it quite there, but there's plenty of playfulness in the noise of this car. So let's talk a little bit about how it drives, because it's a pretty quick performer, shall we say. You know, you've got 400 horsepower on tap when you're in the sport mode. Sport plus mode, obviously, it has exactly the same in terms of power, but slightly firmer as well. And a couple of things on top of that. You can do the suspension independently should you wish. Exhaust is valve controlled with those different modes. But the top speed of the car is raised from 285 kilometers an hour to 296. That's pretty fast, like 180 miles per hour. Then obviously you've got the performance numbers I said earlier, the 0 to 62 of 3.9 seconds, 62 miles an hour, 100 kilometers an hour. That is quick. Obviously the PDK gearbox is super fast, and it has launch control, so you'll get that 3.9. And in fact, TechArt have had a magazine test it and do 3.6 as the fastest. 3.6 seconds. GT4 was 4.4. Obviously with the manual, that means you don't even get the 4.4 every time. So it's very fast, quite significantly quicker than series production. But let's pop it down into the normal mode, drive it a little bit more, I guess, regularly, pop it down into second gear just to feel a little bit of the power, and it's still fast. You still feel it gets moving quick. But if I go back into sport, this is what's probably the most interesting thing to me, or Sport Plus, it's doing exactly the same speed. The torque is just there, it's straight away quicker, and you get moving instantly in comparison. And it's amazing how you think just 50 horsepower, a small amount of torque, how's that going to make much difference? Well, it does. You can feel that the car is just quicker to boot. Straight away, off you go. So, driving, it's fun. The 718 obviously builds on the 981, which was already a very good car. Brilliant format, mid-engine setup. The Cayman has grown up, well, the Boxster's grown up too. It's no longer a hairdresser's car, shall we say. It is a proper out-and-out sports car, and you feel that. It turns in beautifully, it rides so well. Obviously I'm on quite a smooth road right now, but it feels very much at home. Lots of poise, lots of grip, lots of comfort, and a very nice car to be driving in too. So all in all, from a driving experience point of view, it is fantastic. Just sticks as we go around the corner, lots and lots of control. Steering, kind of on the heavy end. You've got this lovely new TechArt steering wheel as well, but all electronically controlled and variable, and you've got your individual settings for various different things. So all in all, I mean, it's a pretty brilliant car. 718 does not disappoint. All the reviews of it have been wonderful. I haven't been driving this long enough yet to sort of pick out niggles, so to speak, but I think the sound would be the one. You know, when you've been driving in the flat six of the GT4, the 911 engine in that car, it's obviously not quite there, but it's nowhere nearly as bad as I thought it might be in comparison, shall we say. So let's keep driving. Genuinely, this car is quick. Definitely no slouch. Even 350 horsepower would be quick, but 400 even more so. And it's inside that usable power band. You can put the power down, you can get up to the red line, you can enjoy it. And it's, yeah, substantially fast enough, let's put it that way. You don't ever need more power than this car has for driving on the road. It is plentiful. fair to say it's been a pretty decent amount of fun so far then, but let's have a look around the interior because, well, firstly, there are a lot of TechArt customizations in here to show you. And I'll start by talking a bit more about the steering wheel that I mentioned earlier. So TechArt actually take these down to the bare metal and then build them back up. So it's the optional, slightly smaller steering wheel from the factory, but custom built, obviously, with the yellow trim. We've still got the red switch selector for the different driving modes down there. You've got these yellow highlights throughout, so the yellow around the vent surrounds, in the centre to go with the yellow sport chrono dial, the yellow rev counter. You've got this yellow sort of fabric highlight on the shift paddle, which is quite nice. Very rare to see shift paddles with an Alcantara or leather option to them rather than being the cold metal that you're normally touching. Obviously you've got the yellow stitch throughout that goes all the way around the car. Satin carbon fibre components. All looks really quite lovely, to be honest. Obviously the seat is a big one, the custom embroidery on here with the yellow stitch, the TechArt logo embossed into the back of the seat as well. Floor mats, black with yellow, everything with a nice little touch of yellow, even obviously into the rear parcel shelf where I showed you earlier, and down to the key fob to match. So just about everything is pretty nice in here. It's familiar obviously from previous gen. You have the digital display on the right hand side, allowing you to scroll through various different modes, settings, your audio, your navigation map, your trip information, just about everything you could basically want to see. Tyre pressures, the chrono, G-force sensor, and back to the temperatures, and then the speedometer on the left hand side as well. Then in the middle you've got the new reworked entertainment system, so it's now a much kind of cleaner interface to the dashboard, I suppose. The buttons are slightly less all over the shop, we could say. There are fewer of them. It used to be quite fiddly to kind of get into them all, whereas now you have everything a little bit more accessible. We're currently running in German, which isn't going to help me too much. There we go, load up the map, your media, all of your different bits and bobs, information, everything you could want to know and do and browse around. So that all works pretty effectively. Gearbox, more or less as you would expect. Through reverse, where you get the reversing camera up. Drive at the bottom. To the left is manual. Up into neutral, obviously, to give it a little blip, which is where, well, let's put it back into park. It sounds a little bit like this. You see, it's not too bad when you blip that turbo engine. Anyway, for the moment, let's turn it off. Shall we? Cayman S graphic there on the display. There's another carbon trim panel there on the door too. Let's step out. Take one sort of last look around the car, I suppose, from the outside. Pop open the rear boot of the two. Even in here you've got sort of a bespoke floor piece, and obviously that parcel shelf at the back in front of the carbon trim on here, which is really quite nice. In fact, carbon everything. Carbon bucket seats, backs too. Let's come and just take these in for a second. This is another nice touch. So as well as having the carbon back bucket, I don't know if you can see, this is also leather, but the weave is done to perfectly match. So they've made leather airbag parts that perfectly match the carbon back piece on the seats. Neat, I think, is one word. Oh, and while we're here, door sills too. So, not a bad little package this. Been a very enjoyable drive. Quite a nice sort of experience to discover Cayman 718 and get to try, well, a pretty stylish version. So the big question is, will there be a GT4? Who knows? But for now, this does a pretty good job of replicating it on the 718 platform. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up from there. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you've enjoyed the video and my kind of impressions behind the wheel, showing you around TechArt's package for the 718 Cayman. As always, appreciate the watch. Thank you for subscribing to those who have, and I'll catch up with you again very soon. Cheers.